How you all doing? It's been a while. My shoulder and my neck has vastly improved. So I've been bored stiff, laid up in the recliner chair watching the TV for the past 2 months. It's driving me absolutely potty. Over the past 2 months I've been coming in the shed and tinkering with the engine for half an hour or more, and then going back to my recliner. And I do really appreciate it if you're still out there and waiting for me to come back. Thank you very much. So we're back in the shed. Or at least so I thought. This is now the end of January. Yes, Christmas Eve I just thought I was getting better. Christmas Day I thought I was getting even better. Until Boxing Day when I woke up and I was in agony. Pains all down my arm. Pins and needles in my fingers. Pains across my chest. Goes to the doctors to book an appointment. Oh, that sounds like you're having an heart attack. You'll have to go to the walk-in clinic. Okay then, I'll have a slow walk down there. But anyway, I did eventually get to see the doctor, and he says it's a trapped nerve. I think it's the 3rd of February I am booked in for physiotherapy to help me build my muscles up around the injury. So anyway, let's just get into the video. It's just another video on the Kawasaki GTR 1000. As some of you probably know, we had a bit of trouble on the last video with the GTR bottom crankcase. But this video, we've got some good news, so let's get into it. Okay then, so we've got the fire going. Some of you will probably remember, but this is the original engine case. And it's got a massive crack all the way down where the bearing exploded, and a big step just there. And then we had a spare engine case which had the engine mount bolt stuck in there and a hole drilled through there. And I'd just like to say thank you for all the comments in the last video. Most of you said take it to a machine shop and get it TIG welded. And as a lot of you know, I am not one for spending big amounts of money. I like to get my money's worth, as you probably know. If I took that to an engineer, that would be, what, over 100 quid easy. Probably 80 quid at the cheapest. But anyway, the good news is, I had a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 3, which I haven't used for years and years and years. Put them on Facebook Marketplace. Ended up with 70 quid. And then, on eBay, I saw a gearbox for sale, but it had all the crankcases still wrapped round it. So I sent them a message, do you have the bottom end crankcase? And they said yes, £35, £7.50 postage. And I said, thank you very much, that'll do nicely. So now we're collecting bottom end GTR 1000 engine cases. 1, 2, 3. This one is all good just here. No holes through there. No giant cracks in the engine case. All the threads are good. There's only one little problem I found with it. That is that the casting is broken just there a little bit where the bolt goes through. Somebody's obviously put a bolt what's too big and bust the case open. And I think oil does fill up in this section. This section is where the timing chain comes round, because there's an oil hole there, oil hole there. So this must fill up with engine oil as well. But where that is just there, follow it round, is all sealed inside. So the only way the oil can leak out is if it gets past that gasket and goes down the threads, and then it'll come through that hole. But I think we're pretty safe with it. For 42 quid, I'm happy with it. So now I've got to get all the selector drum out of one of them, all the selecting forks, and put it into this one, and start rebuilding the engine. Okay then, so we've got all the forks out, we've got all the drum out, got all the little gizmo bits I'm not going to lie to you, I did take this one out, but I put it back in again as a test run, and I did put it back in again because the bearing, this one here, felt a bit sticky and notchy. This one feels alright, so I will be using this one. And it is a bit tricky with these springs, so I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so I think I worked out that little notch there. If I get it in line with this screw hole here, it should be in neutral, because I think you have to have it in neutral. So we're just going to slot that in there, locate the shaft into the bottom, just there, and then the bearing will want to be pushed in. Make sure it's in all the way with something soft. Give it a tap. That's it. And then we've got these two pins. First thing we need to do is put a washer on, say, the top one, then put the spring on, so at that end what's bending in is pressing onto the crankcase. This end that is sticking up is sticking up. We put that on there. There is a little top hat type thing, but on this one we'll leave that off for the moment. We'll put this on first with the bend going downwards, because this bendy spring, what's bent upwards, needs to go onto this side of the arm. So the way I did it, some circlip pliers. The other side is a bit easier. Well, this side's fairly easy really. Just take your time and be careful. Try to swatch it as much as you can, and try to locate this little arm. Try to get it on top of that spring. Just take your time, you'll get there. Attempt 2. Attempt 3. No. Attempt 4. What did I say? It's not very hard. My excuse is it's making it a bit harder with the camera being so close. Let me move you around there a bit. Let's try it in that hole. No. Push that there. Try to get that on top of it. Push it down as best you can underneath. I don't know if you could see that this hole is all out of line with the bolt, so we've got to try and get this top hat into there. So put the top hat on, put the nut on just loosely to stop it shooting off again, and hopefully we can line it up. And you will know when it's lined up properly, because there'll be a lot more threads than what I've got showing. That might be it. Yes, I think that's it, because there's about 3 threads showing. Make sure it springs back. Yeah, that's that one. Yeah, so there you go. In the end it was just as easy to use your fingers and thumbs with brute force and ignorance. We didn't use those after all. Okay, so moving forward a bit, I've got them both on, all lined up properly. I've tightened the knots up. Doesn't say anything in the book about torque wrench settings, so I've just pinched them up, and it doesn't say anything about putting Loctite on them. But this bearing here, there is a little plate that just goes on there, and there's 2 bolts, one there, and they do have Loctite on. But before we put that on, it should actually be that way. My mistake. There's that little moon shape there. goes into the end of that shaft just there, what I'm going to put in a second, and that is for the selector forks. So let's get those in. Okay, so we push the shaft into the hole, and we put the first fork on, make sure the pin goes into the groove of the selector drum, like so. Then we want the second one, which goes the opposite way. Put the pin into the selector drum, push the shaft in a bit more, and the final one, which goes this way with that knuckle at the back, we push that through all the way. Then we can turn this back up. Then we've got our little plate with the half moon, what goes into the shaft. Make sure it lines up, otherwise you won't get the bolts in. And the two bolts are little Allen bolts, and according to the book they do need a drop of locking compound. Should do. Same on the second one. Then we could tighten those up with the Allen key. That's that one. And I must say, I don't do how-to videos. This is not an how-to video. This is just the way I do it. Copy the book. Then we can pinch those up. That's that one. That one. Like I say, there's no torque wrench settings in the book, so just good and tight, but not too tight. Yeah, so if we look at the diagram, they seem to be right. Look all this end, look all this end, look all this end, that pointed outwards. Look all this end, that pointed outwards, and look all the other end. This one pointed inwards as well. Look all pointed that way. Okay, so I think that's it for that case for the moment. So now we need to go on to the next case. Okay, so on this one we need the stator alternator shaft. So first we have to drop that into there. Push the shaft through. Make sure it goes all the way through. Okay, then we can turn this over. Then we can get the flange part for the connects to the alternator. Drop that onto the shaft. And we want the big chunky washer which goes into there. We want the bolt with a bit of thread lock on it. Drop that into there. Pinch that up. Okay, so now we drop the joining cog in. We're getting all technical now. Joining cog. Let's drop that down into the case. And we've got the little shaft. Just drops into that hole there, but this is the retaining bolt, so I'll take that out. Okay, so now we've got to line this cog up into that hole. Push the shaft through. There we go. We can put the locking plate washer thing back over it so it doesn't fall out. There we go. That's that. So we also need to put the locking plate back onto this one. Just to hold the bearing in. Put the big washer on. Put the bolt through. And there we go. Like I say, I won't do it on camera, but I will put Loctite on these. So next, I think it's the gearbox. Okay, so here's the first gear cluster. It's got to go into there, obviously. That goes on the end roller bearing there, the outer race. And obviously, that little hole just there must line up with that pin. The groove in the bearing there must line up with the half moon liner upper. Okay, so we'll stick that on there, drop them into there, move this bearing round till it, there's somewhere, yes, I think that's got that. Make sure this half moon bearing is locked in. Don't know if you can see that. Feels like it's locked in, but it's not. So persevere with it. Make sure this one slots in as well. I think that one's slotted in. This one hasn't. Okay, there's the hole, so move that down to the bottom. There we go, that's it. And if we lift that up again, hopefully you can see that it's nice and flush. So now we want the other gear cluster. And I have still got my clutch attached to mine. I've built one of these, well, it's the same engine as this, the GPZ 1000 RX I rebuilt, and it still had the clutch attached. And it was perfectly fine. And if you want to go and watch that video, it's right at the beginning of my videos on my channel. Okay, so this is the same, it's got the half moon this side, and it's got the little nipple that side. For this bearing race to drop into, so let's try and drop this into there without chopping our fingers off. There we go. Ooh, feels good. There we go, that's that one locked in. This one you can't really see if it's locked in. I could check it from this side. Yes, that's definitely locked in that side. And if I put something under this crankcase to lift it straight, might be able to move the gears down. Because as you can see, it keeps locking up every now and then. There we go. That's it. I think we've got to keep that one there, and it'll keep spinning. Nice and freely. Wicked. Oh, right. What next? What's there on this? It was the same when I did the GPZ, I remember. Because of the weight on this, it just keeps lifting the end of this race bearing up. So bear that in mind if you are keeping the clutch on. So now I think we've got to get the oil out and start oiling bit. Then we can put the main crankshaft in. I've checked all the bearing shells, they look nice. Right then, just going to drop this in there as a dry run just to test it. Here we go. Come on. Don't chop my fingers off. It's bloody heavy. Ah, there we go. Is it locked up? Ah, there we go. Oh. Oh yes. Oh yes, that feels okay. Absolutely brilliant. Right, let's take that back off, get loads of oil everywhere, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, so we've got the other half on, but this is just a test run. You can see from all the oil, get everything a good oil in the inside. But I'm a bit apprehensive. I don't know if you can see that dot there. There is another dot there. And one of those has to line up with this. That's the counterweight, balance weight. Yeah, I've made a little platform for it to sit on. So what I'm going to do now is take this off again and give the book a damn good read, because I don't want to put the sealant round, start bolting it up and then realise I forgot something. So I'll be back in 2 weeks when I've read the book. No, it won't be a fortnight, I'll be back next week. So there you go, yes, I've enjoyed making this one. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you have, please leave a thumbs up. I'd just like to say thank you for all the comments on the last video. So yeah, look after yourselves and I'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you in another life, brother.